Hello viewers and aspirants, welcome to Telugu One Academy. My name is Anand Pawar. I teach Indian polity. We have already discussed fundamental rights, basics of fundamental rights, what are the features of fundamental rights, introduction of fundamental rights. So fundamental rights are mentioned under part 3 of the Constitution from Article 12 to 35. So we've already discussed what is Article 12. It defines state. It defines what is state. So in state we have parliament and central government, assembly, state government, all the local governments, all the statutory and non-statutory bodies, all these things comes under state. So we have discussed Article 14, that is right to equality, from Article 14 to 18. We have in detail discussed these articles. We are now discussing right to freedom. We would be discussing, yes, Article 20. So in last class we have already discussed Article 19, Clause 1, Clause 2, various reasonable restrictions, freedom of press, and all those grounds on which the legislature or the parliament could impose restrictions. So when we say Article 20, this article is equally applicable to both citizens and foreigners. This article protects in respect of conviction of offences. For example, if anyone is convicted of any offence, that particular person have some rights, because we follow law of the land. We follow procedure established by the law. So there is no chance or no place for arbitrary arrest or arbitrary detention of any particular person. So a person should only be punished for the act he has been done which is against the law. So the law should punish to such an act. So there is no place for arbitrariness here when we say protection in respect of conviction of offences. Any citizen or foreigner, this act applicable to both citizen of India and foreigner. So we have three things here. Basically this says protection in respect of conviction of offences, that is executive may go 2 steps behind what actually legal thing says. They may use their arbitrary power, their discretion, which may be illegal. So in that sense, a common man could approach court. For example, we have no ex post facto law. We need to I brief you what is no ex post facto law. Here this means the law should not be applicable retrospectively. For example, a crime has been done today and there is a law made next day, that is after today. So that particular person should not be punished on the basis of the new law, because when the crime has happened, there was no law. The law brought the next day, or not on the day, the next day. So that person should not be punished by the new law. Otherwise, I could say in this way, the person and his or her act should be punished on the basis of law of that point. If the law is existed on the time of offense or the time of crime, such law will only applicable for any legality or for their prosecution. At the same time, there is also a clause that if the penalty is imposed on such person for such crime, that penalty should be equal to the penalty of that day. So there is no retrospective punishment. So post facto law is before, after the law, but not back. So here retrospective is important. No retrospective law. There is an exception for this. No ex post facto law. Here it is applicable only to criminal cases, not for civil or other cases. So for civil cases, there could be retrospective law. For civil cases, there could be both retrospective and prospective law. But for criminal things, only prospective. For criminal cases, only prospective law. So this is what ex post facto is. We'll again go into this in detail. When we say no double jeopardy, what does it mean? We say no double jeopardy is no person should be punished twice for the same crime. That is, if a person indulges in a crime, the court should not punish that particular person more than once for the same act he has done. So that is double jeopardy. This is generally not in our constitution. We say this word we have taken from Western constitutions. So double jeopardy is no person should be punished more than twice for the same crime. This again we'll see. No self-incrimination. No one should made himself or herself self-evidence. That is, no one should be forced someone to give evidence against themselves. So self-incrimination is evidence should not become that particular culprit or the person who has done the crime should not become evidence of his own. So no self-incrimination. We have few exceptions of this. We will be doing this in detail. When I say no ex post facto law, this is applicable only for criminal cases. When I say no double jeopardy, this is also applicable for criminal cases or the cases which the punishment is done by the court, by the judiciary. Otherwise, here any punishment by administrative or departmental things is not covered in double jeopardy. That is, they are exempted. They can give two punishments for the same crime. This we will be seeing in detail. No self-incrimination. Here also we have few exceptions. That is, the agency, the enforcement agency like police or any such agency could collect fingerprints, blood samples, or they could ask for body demonstration. So that is not making a person to give evidence against themselves. So we have few exceptions on this. But main thing what we need to remember is when we say protection in respect of conviction of offences, we have these three things: no retrospective law for criminal cases, no double punishment for the same crime, and a person cannot make themselves as a evidence for the crime he has done. So no self-incrimination. This we will be doing in detail. So when we say no ex post facto law, so here What is this? We are limiting the executive agency. We are limiting the executive agency, otherwise the constitution is limiting the executive agency to not be arbitrary. So it is a limitation imposed on the executive to not use its powers arbitrarily, because we have to follow natural justice, we have to follow law of the land, we have to have also to follow human rights. So we need to follow few things where the law is not used against the natural justice or fundamental rights of the citizen. So these are the limitations. But when we say no ex post facto law, it is just on criminal laws and no civil law is covered. Example here, I would say, if a government comes with a municipal tax or collection of tax, for example, in 2021, the government says on December 1st, 2021, the government makes a law that the tax has increased by 5%, and this increased tax is applicable from 2020 of January. So it is a civil thing and it is a retrospective, because the government is collecting taxes from almost 1 year retrospectively. So people have to pay from 2020 January. But in criminal cases, that is not the case. The government cannot say, or the judiciary, the legislative cannot say that you are punished. Actually, before the law has come, the punishment or the crime of any person is applicable on the basis of the law of that date. They cannot be retrospective. So here when we say no ex post facto, we are talking about retrospectivity. In criminal cases, that retrospective law does not appear, or we cannot make retrospective law in case of criminal law, but it is applicable in civil, maybe tax and that thing. We have an example when we say tax laws. We can give an example of Vodafone. We know Vodafone was a mobile service provider, and when Pranab Mukherjee was finance minister, he had imposed a retrospective law and Vodafone had to pay the tax. So these are the some examples regarding retrospectivity of few law which are applicable in civil or tax laws. Ex post facto law, this is applicable, it is not applicable in case of preventive detention. So we will go into this. What is preventive detention? What is punitive detention? Punitive detention is when there happens a crime, a court will punish on the basis of that crime. In preventive detention, a person could be detained before making any crime, or actually crime is not done, but to prevent that crime to happen on the basis of suspicion, one can be detained by the enforcement agencies for some period. Actually it was 3 months, now we have reduced to 2 months. So this we will be discussing. I hope this is clear. No ex post facto law which is applicable only for criminal law, and this element protects a person from offenses he has done or from arbitrary powers of the executive. So what is this double jeopardy? No double jeopardy is where a person is protected by this Article 20. Double jeopardy is no person should be punished for the same crime dual time. So dual punishment is not applicable or not made, or it is illegal. So we say no person shall be prosecuted or punished for the same offense. Offense is same. That is more than once. More than once, no one should be punished. Actually, any person who commits a crime may be punished lower, or the punishment could be smaller than what is prescribed in the law. But a person could not be punished more than what is prescribed by the law, or should not be punished twice for the same crime. Yet sometimes the court may let a person go, though he has made a crime, but on certain basis, maybe looking for his good future or to bring some reform in that criminal, the court may sometimes let them go, but should not punish more than prescribed by the law. When we say double jeopardy, that is for a single crime, the same crime, he shouldn't get punished twice. This is only if the proceedings are before the court or quasi judicial body like tribunals. Here only is this punishment, that is double jeopardy, may be applicable when the case is before department. We have few departmental inquiries or departmental proceedings or administrative actions. On these things, a person can be punished twice. For example, when we say any public or government officer has done some crime, let us say has a corruption case on him and judiciary has already punished him, for example, sent 6 months to jail. On the same person, the department in which that particular person is working could also take some action. The department could proceed him and says that you could be demoted, or your promotion is stopped, you could be issued notice, or the amount which has been a corrupted amount could be brought back. So these are few actions the department could be taken. So we can say that even judiciary has punished him for example 6 months of jail. For the same person, even department can take those actions on him. So this is double jeopardy, which is applicable only for proceedings before a court or quasi judicial court. There are tribunals. They are not applicable. That is, double jeopardy are not applicable when the proceedings are before department or administrative authorities. So there could be again departmental inquiries on the same crime on which already judiciary or court has given a judgment or sentenced that particular person. So this is an exception, and we could expect a question from this area. There might be a confusion in this. Judicial proceedings, no double jeopardy, only before judicial proceedings, that is before a court or quasi judicial body, but not before departments and administrative agencies. So I think I am clear in this. No double jeopardy is no dual punishment for the same crime. So this is no self-incrimination. The protection against self-incrimination, that is making the same person who has involved in the crime to be evidence. So he have to accept his crime. That is what self-incrimination is. This can be misused. As we generally see. We have custodial deaths. We have tortures in police station. Why? There may be reasons that the same person may be forced, may be used third degree to accept his crime, though he may not involved in that crime. But due to this third degree punishment or torture in jail, he may by force agree to the charges. So the court, in front of court, these evidences are not valid. So court could say that these evidences which has given by that particular culprit or victim or that person who has been in offense is not valid. So that is no self-incrimination. However, this thing will not extend to few things, that is the department or the enforcement agencies like police, we can say income tax department, enforcement department, ED, CBI, ACB, or any such enforcement agency could collect the material evidence from that person. So that doesn't mean they are self-incriminating. So that person has a responsibility. Now he has to cooperate with those enforcement agencies to give whatever evidence for what they ask. They may be like in the form of hard disk, in the form of pen drive, in the form of files, in the form of CC footage, or whatever the enforcement agency asks, that person should cooperate and produce in front of them. They may themselves get interrogated. Police may interrogate, they have to cooperate in front of police. So that doesn't come under self-incrimination. So compulsory production of material objects is not under self-incrimination, and a person can be said to give their thumb impression, their iris, their specimen signature, blood samples, DNA, anything. So that doesn't come under self-incrimination. We can also say that sometimes police may ask to exhibit their body in private because they want some evidence. They are to collect the evidence. If the case is regarding any crime like murder or something else, then there will be a forensic people asked for the compulsory exhibition of the bodies. So it only extends to criminal proceedings. So we can say that self-incrimination extends to only criminal proceedings. Here there are many things in self-incrimination or no self-incrimination where the judiciary has said that this doesn't think, like when police use few techniques like narco-analysis, psychoanalytical procedures, lie detector, brain mapping, or any such things like truth serum. So these are the techniques where a victim or where the person is able to tell the truth, but there is no scientific validity on such techniques, and the Supreme Court has said that these evidence are not purely based on scientific, they may not be valid. So we have no self-incrimination. So these are the few fundamental rights under Article 20 which protects a person of offense. So no ex post facto, no retrospective law, no double jeopardy, that is no dual punishment, and no self-incrimination, or the three things which protects a person from arbitrary or illegal, irrational action of the executive agency. So having said this, we would be discussing the next fundamental right, and in right to freedom, that is Article 21. Thank you for watching my video. Please do subscribe. Please leave a comment. Please press the bell icon to get the notifications. Thank you very much. Thank you for being with me.